Dummy has 11 songs, so over the next 11 days, I will spend 24 hours with each song to fully give each individual track the space it needs for me to understand the album better. After dusting off my CD drive, I put in my dummy CD and started this journey. In actuality, I had to troubleshoot my CD drive for half an hour, so I'm going to start by listening with earbuds, which works out because I also got it on Bandcamp. What I love about Bandcamp is that they give a wide range of file formats, so I typically use MP3s on my phone and WAVs on my computer. Dummy is the title track, as well as the opening track. The project starts with a barrage of sampled vocals as part of the intro. Then a guitar blares as if you just plugged it into an amp. As we build the energy and momentum, it then transitions to heavy drums as we get to the first distorted singing vocal, a high-pitched voice. There's an airy synth which mirrors the guitar until it becomes the melody of the track. A wall of bass houses the rest of the instruments. The vocals, instead of being the focus, are themselves just another instrument. For an intro, it hits hard once everything finally combines. I tried looking up the lyrics because there are vocals, but they are so distorted that they are hard to understand. I'm starting to wonder if this album is more about the vibes than the lyrics, but I'm also interested in knowing the lyrics. But then, I had an idea. I know CDs sometimes have a booklet in them, so I opened the CD and no booklet. So, not this CD, but Ethan, didn't you just look at the CD yesterday and saw that there wasn't a booklet? Honestly, I forgot about that. Bit of a side note, but I've never listened to an album like this before. Typically, I listen all the way through once and then decide whether or not I want to hear it again. In this challenge, there is some restraint I must have. It also gives me a little something to look forward to each day. JPEG RAW's mantra insinuates with its intro sample that this project is abrasive. It's also not a J. Cole album. I found that point hilarious and also true. Since Jake mentioned that JPEG Mafia was an influence, the style of this track feels exactly like that. However, instead of a lot of switch-ups throughout the entire song, it's a pretty concentrated experience. Thanks, dog. Multiple simultaneous vocal chops, a bit crunched bell, industrial drums, wubbing club bass, and a cymbal that is screaming on the edge of peaking but not quite. After listening a few more times, I have a question. Is the intro Danny Brown? I'm asking because JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown have worked together several times. And also, the track is titled JPEG RAW. This album has a very fun summer vibe so far. It was released on May 27th, 2026, essentially the start of summer. I've been listening to each individual song on my multiple walks throughout the day, and they have not disappointed me whatsoever. Crocodile Tears is a complete switch up on tone. Super melancholic, slow guitar ballad, somber horns, muffled plucks, swells of strings. It's just a very dreamy atmosphere. It starts out sounding like a lo-fi girl song, but then expands to an experience more akin to Machine Girl, except where it feels like you're falling in slow motion. Hi, dog. It's a slow burn. Probably the most accessible song on the album. For anyone who isn't sure about the genre, this song would be perfect on a soundtrack where it's about a movie about someone finding themselves. I know I said that this could pass as a summer album, but this project is a lot more versatile than I was expecting. Absolutely beautiful banger here. Isn't Magic is the next track. This is the song that's been stuck in my head. I don't know how Jake did it, but it sounds like a bolt of electricity bouncing, squashing, and stretching throughout the entire song, accompanied with a satisfying clear snare rhythm, which has been stuck in my head all day, what I can only describe as anime OST guitars, and vocal chops so infectious it's practically begging to take the place of your next vocal stim. This was the second single that Jake marketed, and I can understand why. It's genuinely a fun, standout track that I never get tired of, simply because how did Jake fit a bolt of lightning into a song? I didn't realize that both singles were actually right next to each other in the track list. Belly Laugh has the most chaotic intro I've ever heard. Stuttering on and off before it starts, as Jake puts it, it falls off the bone. Man, this song is a headbanger. Initially, the bass is paired with a loud hiss. Hypnotic melodic vocals are spliced throughout. A loud whirring, as it were, completes the melody. Once the drums kick in, it ties all the abstract sounds together. When it starts, you're wondering where it's gonna go, but by the time it ends, you want to run it back again since now you know the full context of how we get there in the song. Another beautiful banger here, folks. You know, this entire time I've been wondering what this album is even about. I bring that up because of this song, Now It's Not the Same. It's quite low-key on the instrumentation of the guitar, almost as if it was ripped out of a Joji song. Instead of this aggressive tone that a lot of the album had, it's more akin to a lullaby. I imagine it's what introspection sounds like. It's very ethereal in that nature. In the middle of the song, a sample plays that says, "The real people went away," which further quells my suspicion over Dummy as a whole. If I haven't made it obvious, the vocals are not the primary focus. In fact, one could argue that this is an instrumental album, but this isn't even entirely true due to the fact that there are lyrics on the album. They are just most of the time either faint or distorted, as if the creator of the album has things to say, but doesn't want it to be too obvious. However, grief seems like a common thread, because tonally we keep jumping from aggressive to sad/melancholy, and judging about what we already know from the album according to this purple booklet, it's probably not far off. But we also have more of the album to listen to. What sounds like anime screaming is sampled throughout Nail Gun. I don't have an actual nail gun. The best I have is a hammer or an actual nail. I was expecting a more aggressive background, but it's emotional instead. Feels more like an interlude in the middle of the album. Multiple guitars clash. One softer melody, and the other a harsh tone laid over top. The way I interpret this track is that it's an argument. Screams affect the entirety of the runtime. Two people repeating the same noise on repeat. Two guitars blaring simultaneously with two different tones. It ends with what sounds like a wrestling promo, to symbolize even further that people are fighting with each other. I almost hit myself in the face with this. The intro makes it sound like we are about to get a no melody distorted bass song, but then it translates into something more hopeful. I had to listen to this one a few times to fully embrace what was actually happening in the song, since there's a lot going on here. After the wall of noise, we get the clearest vocals we've gotten so far. Though it's not saying much since they're heavily auto-tuned, but I think it's saying something about the stars are a memory of you, or something along those lines. We also get a sample that sounds like somebody saying "though I walk" as a vocal chop throughout the song. I don't know why, but this song is extremely hard to articulate for me. It could be because I keep listening to these songs at like 5:30 in the morning because I listen to them like as soon as I wake up in the morning, but this one specifically I had a rough time with, and I'm not really sure why. I don't just want to call it hyperpop adjacent, but I don't know what else to call it. The drums sound like something off of Ouch by Matt Watson, but in this song, synthy swells blare out over the drums, and scattered vocal harmonies sing together. This song almost gave me a panic attack. Okay, maybe not a panic attack because that has a negative connotation to it. Out of all these songs, this one gave me the tingles. This is my new favorite song on the album. The intro sent me into a fight or flight state as I was walking outside. It is the most haunting song that I've heard in a while. This is mostly due to the soul vocal sampling, screaming, "I need your love," throughout the entirety of it. If it's not a sample, props to whoever sang this song, because it was genuinely beautiful. Super dark track. The voices mirror the synth/guitar, high succinct beeps, and great drums to support the vibes as always. If you had to only listen to one song off of this album, please let it be this one. These two songs feel like a full sentence. I'm slowly turning into you, and now I'm dancing. This is the most bipolar track on the project, a slow burn that ramps up over time. I didn't think the intro could be more distorted, but here we are. The drums don't even kick in until the 2-minute mark. So for those 2 minutes, it flips between ambience and noise. The ambience is a synth that sounds like it is trying to break through. The noise is when it occasionally does. Once the drums unite these polar opposites, the strings accompany them, and it sounds more hopeful than it previously did. When I Am an Old Woman, I Shall Wear Purple is the 5-minute closer, an intro where the title is the beginning. Buzzing fades in and then disappears with the drums. Very grand in its emotion, a conclusion that feels very satisfying. It's about a woman who has a to-do list when she gets older. Either the artist feels the same way as this woman, or maybe it symbolizes somebody else, such as a partner. The vocal sample is clearly significant because it plays in both the intro and the outro of the song. There's a certain sense of acceptance here. Sonically, the industrial tones, guitar, synth, noise, vocal chops, and atmospheric ambience finally work together instead of sounding like a fight, creating this awe-inspiring outro. This album doesn't say a lot. Literally, there's barely any discernible vocals on this project. The best we can do is guess about what the subject matter is relating to. My best guess is that this album is about a relationship ending and feeling the aftermath of it. The album has heavy mood swings, and the entire time while I was listening, there was this sense of grief. I do think that anyone that listens to this album will come away with something different. It feels very much up for interpretation regarding what the artist says in the booklet that came with the album and the context clues throughout the album's runtime. Jake was isolated, lost, confused, and angry. And this album sounds exactly like those feelings.